Selamat datang. Welcome to East Java in Indonesia. This is one of the most historic, one of the most ethnically diverse, and as you can see, one of the most naturally beautiful parts of the country. In this episode, we'll visit Surabaya to discover one of Southeast Asia's oldest cities, its special place in Indonesia's independence, and its colorful multicultural legacy. We'll drive through Northeast Java's jungle terrain and volcanic highlands, scale Mount Bromo, and experience its spectacular views and spiritual calm. We'll explore all that, plus the rich cuisine and warm hospitality typical of the local Javanese. So join us, I'm David Celdran in Java, Indonesia, and this is Executive Class. Welcome to Surabaya, the country's largest metropolitan area after Jakarta. While the Indonesian capital on the western side of Java struggles with urban congestion and pollution, Surabaya has made a name for itself as one of Southeast Asia's cleanest, greenest, and most livable cities. Impressive, right? But not enough to drive tourists to this coastal corner of the country, which is a pity, because Surabaya, which is actually older than Jakarta, holds a special place in Indonesian colonial history. And if, like me, you happen to stay at the iconic Hotel Majapait, you won't have to look too far to discover it. The hotel's current name was taken from the 13th century Hindu Majapahit kingdom, but once ruled Java and other lands that now comprise modern-day Indonesia and parts of Southeast Asia. It was formerly known as the Hotel Orange or Oranje, named after another kingdom, the Dutch House of Orange. The hotel was built in 1910 during the Dutch occupation and managed by the same family behind many of Southeast Asia's most fabled properties. Interesting. So if the name Sarkis sounds familiar, that's because this is the same Sarkis family that built many of the most important heritage hotels across Southeast Asia. The Raffles, for example, in Singapore, the Strand in Rangoon, the Eastern and Oriental Hotel in Penang, Malaysia, and here, obviously in Indonesia, the Majapahit, or back then, the Orange or Oranje Hotel. Interesting. This Sarkis guy, I love him. Right. Despite the new name and the modern amenities, Lucas Martin Sarkis' original building looks very much like it used to back in his day, an image of which is preserved in a mural that hangs in the hotel lobby. Benny Setiawan, one of the hotel managers, is taking me on a heritage tour of the Majapahit. Okay, Benny, you know what? This is starting to look a bit familiar from that picture.
Sure.
I think this was what we were looking at, right?
Right.
The frontage of the original hotel.
Before they make the extension.
Okay.
So left and right side are remain our rooms. Then
Amazing. Hasn't been touched in any major way.
Yes. So it's still original. As we know that we are as a national heritage, so we cannot change anything.
The foundation stone laid by Sarkis himself remains intact in what used to be the original facade and entrance to the lobby when the hotel first opened to guests. The current lobby was added in 1926 with an Art Deco design typical of the period. The vintage car and Art Deco and Art Nouveau details take you back to that time when famous travelers like King Leopold III of Belgium, Charlie Chaplin once stayed and partied at the Hotel Oranje. It's amazing just how well preserved the colonial era structure is. This despite the Japanese army occupying the hotel in World War II and renaming it the Yamato. Lucky for Surabaya and for the hotel, the Japanese didn't put up any resistance, didn't put up a fight at the end of the war. And that's why the building, including the buildings on the street outside, were all preserved. Right. So no street fighting.
Yes, there is no street fighting at the time.
Okay.
So yeah, again, so we are lucky at the time.
The Japanese just peacefully marched out of the city, and then the Dutch tried to come back in.
Yes, they reoccupied this hotel. They used as a headquarters at the time.
Okay, so Japanese out, the Dutch back in.
Yes.
And then they
flew the Dutch flag all over again. That must have made the Surabayans really angry, right?
Yes.
They fought the Japanese, they suffered under the Japanese, and here come the Dutch marching back in to the city.
The angry locals mobbed the hotel to force the Dutch to leave. Negotiations took place in this room, renamed later the Merdeka, or Freedom Room, where the Dutch set up their new headquarters in Surabaya.
Surabayans were asking,
Yes.
why are the Dutch flying their flag?
Right. That's the starting of the flag
And what was the
raising
answer?
movement. The answer is simple.
We're back.
We are back. And then, of course, it's not happy for the Surabaya people. Then the flag accident just happened. So they climb the tower, take the blue part of the Dutch flag to become the Indonesian flag.
This was a so-called flag incident of Surabaya that helped spark the revolution for Indonesian independence. Today, the hotel flies a replica of the original flag that was hoisted by Surabaya's young patriots on September 19, 1945, a heroic event reenacted at the Majapait's grounds every year. The hotel was reopened soon after independence, and except for the new flag that flew over the property, European manners and traditions like high tea were left unchanged.
There's so much history to appreciate in this hotel, but let's not forget the architecture as well, because that's significant too. This is what you might call the typical colonial tropical architecture, popular at the time. It was meant to keep you cool despite the heat and the humidity.
Though thoroughly upgraded to reflect 21st century standards, the sprawling property, the gardens, and all 143 rooms preserve the colonial design shared by heritage hotels all over the region. Details like the hardwood floorboards, authentic period furniture, and antique decor evoke old world luxury and a charm that's missing in most contemporary hotels. Indeed, Hotel Majapait is draped in history, but make no mistake, it feels nothing like a museum. Rather, a modern, efficiently run luxury hotel managed by the French Accor Group, which is in the process of rebranding it the Hotel Sofitel Majapahit Surabaya. Thomas Everard, the general manager, gives me a glimpse of what will change and what will not.
The spirit is still always the same, and we really feel the atmosphere, the decor, the architecture. The building remains basically the same, with some changes.
Indeed, changes needed to keep the Majapahit up to the Sofitel brand's high standards of luxury, but without losing the unique character of this historic property.
You have to give a different experience. And you have to be based on what is the history, what was here 100 years before, and what is the history, and you know that you're just a part of it. And then you have to bring more than just the international standard. You need to give a local identity, the historical place, and that's why here we have something special about the flag. The flag incident of 1945 is a key element of the history of the hotel.
In a way, the Majapahit Hotel is the story of the Surabayan and the East Javanese people. The name, Majapahit, is linked to the nation's Hindu and Buddhist heritage, the building to its Dutch colonial experience, the flag to the Malay people's struggle for self-determination, and the hotel's Chinese restaurant, the Sarkis, an expression of the city's influential ethnic Hokkien community. A rich mix of races, religions, and traditions you find in local Javanese food culture. Aji Wajono, a prominent tour operator in Indonesia, and my host in Surabaya, introduces me to the local cuisine at Pasar Malam. The popular restaurant of the Bumi Surabaya City Resort was made to look like a traditional street market, although Aji tells me the food here is 100% authentic, including their satay. Wow, I've been dreaming about this even before I've coming here to Surabaya.
Good.
And
So
this is something that everyone really loves to
yeah,
eat.
yeah. That's like for everyone.
So I'm not being touristy, right?
No, no, it's not.
Okay.
Definitely no. Definitely no.
On the surface at least, Most Javanese dishes, like satay, look similar to those you find in other parts of Indonesia, Singapore, or Malaysia. But there's subtle differences in taste and in the choices of condiments to enhance the flavors. Here, fried shallots and a thick chili sauce are local favorites. Some dishes like kikil, a savory curry of cow's feet, are original Surabayan recipes.
Is the food in Surabaya different from, let's say, the food I will come across in Yogyakarta or in Jakarta?
In Yogyakarta, it's totally different. Yogyakarta is more into the sweet. They use a lot of brown sugar, the sweet soya sauce.
So here's more savory, you're saying.
More savory.
The flavor
More savory.
profile is
Yes,
more savory.
yes.
So even Bali would be different.
Bali is totally different. Bali is more into the spice. They use a lot of spice. So you will, it's a little bit of spicy food in Bali.
This is the closest to
The Philippines.
Filipino food
Yep.
compared to West Japanese.
Yeah, it's too sweet. Yes, it's too sweet. Correct.
Which is why I like it. It tastes very familiar. And the ingredients are very familiar too.
And speaking of familiar,
All right, we have to end our dinner with a typical Indonesian dessert. In fact, I still can't get over it. The food here is so similar to what we have back home, including this quintessential Indonesian dessert, which they call es teler. Back home, we call it halo halo. And let's try it. Can I have one es teler? Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So this is what it looks like.
it's amazing to realize we share so much more than just a sweet tooth or a taste for salty, savory food. When we return after the break, we'll show you what else we have in common with the Javanese, like a shared reverence for the divine and rare geographical features that never cease to inspire.